What's up, folks? We are back again. How are you guys doing? I'm doing fantastic. A little jet lagged right now. So I spent the week in Austria. I went up there for a political convention, little kind of get-together, soiree, gala, whatever you want to call it. And to kind of touch base with our European brothers and sisters, our beautiful European brothers and sisters across the pond, who are all facing the same issues that we are here today. In America, we're facing mass immigration. So are they in Europe. Now they have more laws, more restrictive laws when it comes to free speech, obviously gun rights and stuff like that. But it was good to touch base with people who have our same views on that side of the pond, because at the end of the day, like, it's easy to be hoorah for your country, but when you're a member of the global minority, which is white people, which we are, we're like 10% of the global population, I think it's important to all stick together. So our fight is their fight. At the end of the day, white unity is what we need, is what it needs to be our battle cry ultimately. So went up there, met a lot of the amazing people that are kind of underground. The far right in Europe, or the alt-right, it's not even like far right, alt-right. It's just like, we want to have our country. We want a homogenous society. We want safe streets. We don't want people from third world countries ruining our beautiful countries that we've built and our ancestors built. We don't want that. So that's considered far right today. Anyway, one of the main speaker, we were at his castle in Vienna. The main speaker at the event was Prince Leo von Hohenberg. I know I am pronouncing that wrong, but he is of the descendant of Archduke Ferdinand and his wife, who were assassinated in 1914. This is what triggered World War I. So we went there for a wreath-laying ceremony on their graves in the crypt of the castle. Then they went and we had mass in their church, and then he gave an address later that night, and it was a beautiful address, and I'm going to show you some of it now. I filmed it as best as I could on my phone, so the audio is not the best, but I think it's an important message, not just for Europe, but for the United States. And again, think of Europe as just an extension of the homeland of white people. This is the West, and when any part of the West falls, it's going to hurt white people and our future, okay? And again, they're facing the same issues that we are. They just have a much more strict government there, although the United States is catching up, that's for sure. Okay, so let's dive right in here and listen to some of his speech. Absolutely fantastic. Incredible person, like an amazing person. I got to talk to him for a long time, and he's very much on our side. And the respectable thing is, when somebody has this much to lose, it's pretty honorable when they actually step out and say the things that need to be said. Now, obviously, he's saying it in a more, political way, but nonetheless, it's a very important message. So let's take a listen to this. I wanted to share a little bit of his speech with you. It's not in entirety, but it's the meat and potatoes of it.
Who were the first victims of the First World War? It is unfortunate that instead of speaking about the historic relevance of my ancestors, I feel I must take this opportunity to address such an illustrious and well-connected and like-minded individuals that I have here regarding the pretty dark times we're living in, and that we should do whatever we can in this spiritual battle between good and evil. We are, once again, in a situation where a centralized form of government and its powerful overreach is completely detached from the people and from reality, and with its obsessive desire to implement an utopian new world order. It is therefore clear that everyone with any influence must get together and actively work in creating alternative networks.
This is really important, and that's basically what the point of this whole get-together was over in Europe, despite the fact that they have more crackdowns and more censorship, the right wing there is a lot stronger than the right wing here. because the right wing in America is primarily online based. Despite the fact that we have more freedoms, I don't see, just from my take from somewhat of the inside looking inward as well, I don't see people getting together and actually talking. Whereas in Europe, what you see is the complete opposite. Yes, it's more underground. Yes, they have to be more subtle about it. You have to use code words for certain things and certain people, but it's a lot more strong, and it gives me a lot of hope for Europe. And if a continent that large with that many countries, that strong and powerful, if they can unite, if they can turn their country around, that's going to have a positive effect for white people around the globe, and that could help pressure the United States to follow that same route. So again, we need to kind of, in some ways, emulate this model of actually getting together, appreciating their heritage. They had, classical musicians in there playing, there was singing, there was toasts, in between the courses of meals, they had the representatives from each country stand up and give a toast. And it was a good way of really building camaraderie, building trust, and putting aside little petty differences. In the States, we're constantly infighting amongst ourselves. The far right can never grow because it's always fighting amongst itself. Either it's the Christians versus another sect of people, or it's, we disagree slightly on this or that. But the bottom line is, if we agree on the major issue, if we identify who truly is dictating what is going on in our country, who is truly behind mass immigration, who is behind the restrictive rights, our laws rather, on our speech, if we can all agree on who that is and identify who that is a good way of rallying behind those people. So like he's saying, we need to use all of our voices. If you have influence, use it. If you have a platform, use it. Even if it's just to help promote and prop up other things, we have to use it. Anyway, that's kind of the thrust of what I gathered from this. They have because it's so censored over there, because there are hate speech laws, it's honestly made the right wing far more strong and tight knit, because they're all in it together, and there's a lot on the table to risk.
To oppose these utopian ideologues and the warmongering military-industrial influence on the media, politics, and the state of debates. As Europeans with a common Christian heritage, we know that the Christian way is a way for the transformation of life and not the affirmation of an utopian ideology and reckless, self-destructive tolerance. It is therefore time to act and apply some practical resistance. And so my purpose here today is to encourage all of you to create a counterpoint, a counter movement to this new world order dictatorship, and making use of your considerable influence and network. So, my first appeal to you is to be loyal to your compatriots. Accept the truth that international organizations act mostly in their own interest and follow very specific, predetermined long-term agendas, which rarely reflect the voting public's wishes. These governmental and non-governmental organizations are experts in concealing their agenda with a cloak of humanitarianism, which actually is the ultimate global psyop. What Karl Marx called the run through the institutions has been completed. The well-oiled machinery behind a facade of democracy, such as the United Nations, the Bank of International Settlement, Monetary Fund, International World Bank, and others, They have been established and they are fully functional, affecting every individual nation and their citizens. Just for an example, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees and its 20,305 employees have been very active in Europe in the last 20 years or so. This UNHCR uses this legitimacy to impose policies by creating legal barriers that impede national sovereign decision-making, and thereby acting against the very clearly expressed will of the people concerning migration.
Well, and he's getting right to the crux of the problem here, because you can blame migration, you can blame all of these things, but at the end of the day, it's who is causing this. It is a group of people who are transnational, who are not loyal to the countries that they reside, and they're imposing this against the will of the people. These people are not elected. We don't even know who they are. They hide in the shadows. They hide behind NGOs. They hide behind organizations. And they truly are the ones that dictate how our country is going to be run, how our countries, rather, are going to be run, and the policies that end up being instituted, like mass migration, like having your taxpayer money be sent off to fund foreign wars and foreigners in your country.
So I urge you, use every possibility you have to prioritize reason over emotion, and to have the courage to advocate true Christian values over sanctimonious trends, and to have the courage to defend the needs of your people rather than the utopian fantasies of an ideal global state. Secondly, I urge you not to be afraid of social media. Encourage open and scientific discussion and the open availability of information. Realize and accept that the alternative media is currently the only guarantor of the free flow of information and open discussion. I know this requires a certain change of mind, especially in the elder generation, to accept the truth that the established media is not necessarily the most reliable source of information, and that its primary objective is not to relate the state of affairs, but rather to serve the goals and objectives of the globalist agenda. So if you are in the position which requires media presence, use these social medias, use these bloggers and vloggers, and spread through social media your message. Because the more we talk about Christian values and the morals and foundations of our Western civilization, the more people will see that they are not alone. And the more cohesion in the need for change we can create.
That's very important, and that's why I always encourage you, even if you don't do it online, because just, FYI, if you do it online, you will face repercussions. They will make it impossible for you to make a living. They will ban you. They will censor you. They will demonetize you. They will try to ruin your life. They will throw every javelin at you possible. They will try to destroy you, okay? So even if you're not ready to go down that route, which is perfectly understandable, and I do not encourage everyone to do that. We need our people working underground, just like all the people that was at this convention. No one would ever think or suspect. And there's a lot of power in that, because you can accrue power through anonymity. But like he's saying, it is important to speak out. And even if it's, again, not on social media, if that's not your thing, but do it amongst your friends, amongst your family, red pill people, so that, like he said, they won't feel like they're alone. That's important.
And finally, for those among you who are active or retired military, I urge you to create a counter movement to the current warmongering, rampant in every European institution. You're very influential people with weight in your networks. Use it to change the perception of the people. I mean, history has shown that waging war with Russia was never a good idea. Yeah. And Russia repeatedly intimated that it's not interested in an escalation of the conflict all over Europe. And it's even doubtful if they would be able to escalate militarily. And it's interesting that leftist parties, who historically always stood for the anti-war and the peace movement, and defunding the police and of course the military, are now the greatest spokesman for the necessity of an all-out war in Europe against Russia. So let's say it out loud. This latest obsession of the globalist agenda is bleeding taxpayers' money out of Europe instead of investing it into European infrastructure, technology, and desperately needed reduction of debt. So be loyal to your people. Everything must be done to stop this hemorrhaging.
So there you go. There you go. The people are waking up, and this is truly sweeping the Western countries. I think COVID had a lot to do with this. It really helped to red pill people, to wake people up to what we're actually living through. And then after that, it's been these endless wars. We're fighting a war in Israel, between Israel and Palestine. We've got Ukraine and Russia going on, now possibly Venezuela. These are all things that are coming to a head, and I'm starting to see that this is happening all over the country. So again, like he was saying, and I think one of the most important things he even said was be loyal to each other. We have to be loyal to each other. We have to have unity and unite, because we have to realize it is truly us against the entire world. They want the West to fall. They want white Christian countries to fall. They hate you. They hate us. They hate what we've built, and they hate what we stand for. That's why they're flooding our countries with people who are hell-bent on destroying and taking over our countries. And that's why they're putting in all sorts of laws to try to prosecute and persecute you and prevent you from speaking your mind. So despite, I know this is Europe, probably most of you don't even care, but again, this actually, if you understand race, you have to see how this is important, because this is our guy. These are our guys, and they're fighting the good fight. And I think we need to somewhat emulate their style. They're extremely unified. They're extremely loyal to one another. It's a very tight-knit community. They all know each other. They're all working together, and they've managed to secure positions of power. They have a lot of money behind them. They've got, royalty. They have the royalty on their side. These people are trying to save their countries as they're watching their countries collapse and be destroyed. And the same thing is happening in the States. It's a little bit different. We have a few more freedoms, but it's the same thing at the end of the day. They have a Muslim takeover. We have a takeover from basically every third world country. So there you go. Anyway, I don't know if you will find this very interesting, but I certainly did. And I want to commend the people in Europe, despite all of the censorship that they have to deal with, despite the fact that they could have their doors quite literally kicked in and they could be hauled off to jail or sent massive crippling fines. Despite all of that, they are speaking out. So I think we need to be inspired by that sort of courage and that sort of love for your country, and we need to start implementing that in the States. How can we be outdone by Europeans who have hate speech laws? We in America, we can do better. We do have our freedom of speech for now. For now, don't worry, that will be taken away from us soon if we allow it to happen. But we have to start emulating people who are actually taking action, and these people are truly taking action. And I have a feeling that Europe is going to start changing quite quickly because these people have a lot of power, they have a lot of influence, and they have a lot of money behind them, and they are unified. That's the most important thing to remember. They are extremely unified and loyal to one another. So that is the rallying call today. Loyalty, unity. We got to have a plan. We got to get organized. We got to get our shit together. We got to stop with the infighting. As long as we agree on that main point, and if you're based, you know what that main point is. We have to agree on that main thing, and we got to try to work together to save our country before it's too late. Anyway, that's the show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel and share the video, and I will see you in the next one.